recording right now, and I will actually download the video from this webinar, and I will post it on our website later this week. Just a very short introduction about this webinar. It is intended for the new to SnowMirror, so for everyone that doesn't know SnowMirror, or if you want to learn more about the tool. I saw some registrations from our existing customers, so this is definitely the advanced session. This is more the 101 presentation. So first of all, please introduce myself. My name is Pavel Miller, and I am a ServiceNow consultant, a ServiceNow architect, mainly focusing on integrations. And my background, I've been in the IT for almost 20 years, and my background is a Java development industry. I am a Java architect and a solution architect, and with ServiceNow since 2011, and I work for a company called Guide Vision. We are the biggest independent ServiceNow partners in Europe. We've got more than 110 consultants. We are based here in Prague, Czech Republic. And SnowMirror is actually one of our products. So not only services, like ServiceNow implementation services, is our job, but we've got some smaller products, and I am the SnowMirror product manager as well. You can contact me directly at pavel.muller@snowmirror.com at any time. You can send me some questions later if you want to. So let's the agenda for today. I'd like to talk briefly about the challenges we see in our implementation projects and why we have actually developed this product, and what is offered from ServiceNow by default, the ODBC driver, and why it is not suitable for this we have. Then, because the reporting is, I would say, the #1 use case here, I would like to talk more about the options we have for reporting outside of the ServiceNow platform, or reporting out of cloud in general. And then I have a very short SnowMirror introduction, and at least half of the webinar I will start completely from scratch by installing SnowMirror on a computer, and then configuring some of the tables to replicate into the database, and you will see the details. And please type your questions to the chat, and I will spend the last, I would say, 10 minutes of the webinar answering the questions from the chat. So let's move to the topic. What are the challenges that we face, especially when we implement a ServiceNow for large enterprises? And I see these use cases or challenges even among our among SnowMirror customers as well. So the typical challenge is that when you start using ServiceNow, you realize that it's a cloud solution, right? And the data is far away. And a very typical scenario that the big companies, especially the big companies, are having their existing preferred reporting platforms or BI platforms, such as Tableau or Cognos or SAP Business Objects, Microsoft Reporting Services. So there is a reporting capability in the ServiceNow platform, but the requirements on our ServiceNow projects are that okay, we would like to have the ServiceNow data in our reporting platforms, in our reports, and the challenge is actually how to get to data, because the data is in a single system of record, and you need somehow to access it. The situation is for for data warehousing, because again, if you want to load the data into a data warehouse or a data mart, you need some kind of extraction. You need to load it into the warehouse and access the data. Another scenario, what we see quite often is that service is not alone in the enterprise architecture. There are other tools, such as dashboarding solutions or PHP portals and many other tools that actually require to work with the data, whether there is ServiceNow, for example, CMDB or user groups or incidents, and to display them. And in this case, again, challenge is, okay, we might build a hub out of our ServiceNow instance, but perhaps this is not the best idea to integrate 30 plus integration points to this cloud. So this is another point. And the last, quite frequently asked questions is, we are to have a business continuity plan or a disaster recovery plan, and how can we achieve that? We need to cover the scenarios such as, what if there is no ServiceNow anymore? What if we cannot access our data centers anymore? So there is this requirement of having, let's say, a copy of the data somewhere, to have some kind of plan for the company audits and so on. The default answer, or the default solution provided by ServiceNow is the ODBC driver. By the way, if you look at the ServiceNow API, which is provided by default, then there is no bulk API. There are the web services, the out-of-the-box web services. This is a transactional API, and there's a REST API. And again, this is a transactional API. It does not have features to download, millions of records at once, unlike Salesforce, for example. So this is something which complicates the access to data. And by the way, there is no direct access to the underlying ServiceNow database as well. Even for us as a partner, we have no access to the ServiceNow MySQL, what they run. The only tools we have is the same as the customers have. That is either the API or the Glide record API in JavaScript. So ODBC driver basically means that it is not a real driver. It's just a wrapper around the out-of-the-box SOAP web services. So this is a technical limitation, and you can imagine if you send a complicated query through this ODBC driver, it is typically not supported, because every SQL query sent to this ODBC driver is translated to a web service call, and there are huge limitations what you can actually send. And of course, the throughput is not ideal, because it goes through it goes over the internet too. So it doesn't make sense to connect your reporting solution directly through this ODBC driver directly to ServiceNow, because you are accessing the live instance, and you are accessing the throughput is low, so it would take ages to build such a report anyway. So the ODBC is not perhaps the best solution. Let's look at the you can take if you want to build reports outside of your ServiceNow platform. So this is first, let's say, naive approach. Imagine you have a Tableau piece of software and you want to build some kind of reports in Tableau. You could potentially connect it directly to the cloud platform such as ServiceNow, but limitations are enormous. You limit it in throughput. You are able to download the data in time to build the report, because the API is simply slow. It takes time, And if there is a security risk, you cannot always access all the data, as you would have to have some kind of admin account and so on, and you don't have any history as well. And from the, let's say, architecture point of view, this is not a good idea because you are seeing a production instance, a live instance, and you might be potentially affecting your production environment. Imagine 50 people building reports at once, sending complicated queries to the ServiceNow database that might be affecting the environment. So the best practice, and this is not, let's say, a ServiceNow best practice, this is a best practice from enterprise systems in general. It is this read-replica approach, fetch and store model. So you build a second database, a replica, which is dedicated to reporting and some other integrations. Benefit is the reporting is much faster because it is replica is close to the reporting solution, typically on-premise. You can modify the data model. You can manipulate with the data model, so it's more prepared for reporting. You can load the data into a data warehouse to have some kind of historical data and other approaches. You can blend data with some other data sources, and at the end of the day, you are not affecting your production environment when building the reports. So definitely this is a recommended approach in general, and that you would like to build such a replica. You've got two options how you can build the reports, or these are the two approaches I see among our users. So either you build this ODS, operational data store, meaning that this is a one-to-one copy, your ServiceNow tables, and you are building reports directly on top of the tables. So you are connecting, for example, Tableau directly to a base containing tasks, CMDB, CI, incident, tables like that. So you have to know the ServiceNow data model in order to build your reports. Approach is you've got some kind of data warehouse or other data structures, and in case the replica is just a staging area. So you load the data, you build snapshots from your ServiceNow instance, like once a day or every hour. But then you have another stage of ETL jobs to load the data into this data warehouse. And then you use the data structures or the structures for reporting. So this is the approaches that could be taken when working with the cloud data. And SnowMirror is the tool which allows you to build such an on-premise read replica of ServiceNow data. This is a smart data replication tool for ServiceNow. We've been developing the tool since 2012, and we've got more than 100 users these days replicating their production ServiceNow instances. And if you look at the picture, it just describes how the tool actually works. So here on the left, you see the ServiceNow cloud instance, and the rectangle here on the right is your own environment. So this is typically an on-premise environment. All these are, this is your private cloud or your AWS environment. So SnowMirror is an honest piece of software downloading the ServiceNow data from cloud into an on-premise database. Your own database, such as Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server, additional relational database. Once you have the data on-premise, your reporting solution, BI software, you can load the data into your data warehouse, you can integrate it, and so on and so forth. So you select the tables, You select the fields you need, how often you need the data, and SnowMirror keeps downloading, keeps replicating the data into your database. What we are providing here is this Snowflake piece of software. The database is not part of the tool. This is your own database, the database of your choice. So, since that, the dates of the tool are basically covering the challenges I was mentioning. So, I'd say number one use case of SnowMirror is to reporting and business intelligence. I would say about 80% of our users is having this use case. So if you have tools, again, such as SAP, Business Objects, Tableau, and many others, SnowMirror allows you to build reports on top of the read replica. Then read-only integrations. Again, if you have many tools that are just read data from ServiceNow, then it is a much better idea to have out of this mirror database than the live ServiceNow instance. For some organizations, SnowMirror is part of their business continuity and disaster recovery plan. If you have the copy of the data, you can be sure that, for example, you have all the data from your change management process or HR processes, including the attachments and the documents. This is what SnowMirror provides. And of course, if you don't put stress on your production instance, there is a performance improvement. And we backup solution as well, really backup tool for individual ServiceNow tables. But I won't be showcasing this backup tool here today. There is another webinar covering the backup functionality. How it actually works? Again, this is a very similar picture as the last one. So here on the left, there's a ServiceNow cloud instance. The rectangle is under your control. This is your environment. In order to make SnowMirror work, you install it on one of your machines, on one of your servers. It's not a resource-intensive application, so even a small virtual server is typically enough. And SnowMirror accesses ServiceNow using out-of-the-box SOAP API. So no need to modify your ServiceNow instance at all. The only thing you need is just username and password with sufficient permission so you can download the data. And there's no ServiceNow modifications at all. And of course, you need a mirror database, empty database in your supported database environment or from your favorite vendor. We support all of the major database providers such as Oracle, Microsoft, MySQL, including the cloud databases such as MySQL in AWS or SQL Server in Azure. And that's it. And then you connect your tools to this database under your control and under your operation. SnowMirror itself requires a database for storing its own configurations and history of all the replication runs. We typically do not recommend having the configuration and the ServiceNow data in one base. We typically recommend having two databases separate. By default, as you will see during the installation, you can use the configuration database as an H2. This is a type of the database, A2 file database, so it is not that complicated to set up. So for evaluation purposes, you need username and password to ServiceNow, a machine to install SnowMirror 2, and an empty database. And that's it. We'll see how to install it. So let's start with the demo. Start from scratch. I'll show you. I will open a website, SnowMirror. There is a free trial. And I download SnowMirror as a first step to my computer. Here in our, let's download it. And if we start populating a database, then as you can see, I have a SQL Server database on my own laptop. I will create a completely empty database on this set. Let's call it mirror. Like a fresh empty database called mirror. Now let's see the installation of the tool. I have SnowMirror in here. So let's install it on my computer. I have to agree with some legal stuff, yes. And then there is a couple of options. You can do it in a fast way, but I will show you the custom install. I will change any default values, but you will basically see what can be configured if you are installing such a tool. So see, this is the target installation folder. If you want to install multiple SnowMirror in one machine, you can define the installation folder. The size for the port. SnowMirror is a web application, so it runs as an HTTP server, and it occupies 2 ports. You can modify these 2, or if you are installing several SnowMirrors on one machine, you can modify the ports as well. I will keep them as they are. The configuration database setting, as I was mentioning on the last slide. So this is not the target database, this is the database for configuration. As you can see, we support the configuration databases of these types, but I will keep it as it is. To keep it, I will keep in the file database. And SnowMirror supports several operating systems, including Windows. In this case, it installs as a Windows service. We support Linux, of course, as well. Then it runs as a daemon, but in this case, it will install as a Windows service. That's it. That's basically it. So as you can changes, it will install. And now the Windows service is starting up. It typically takes about a minute or 2. So in time, we can generate a license. I can show you on the website. Because SnowMirror license is bound to a ServiceNow instance name. So let's register myself like that. And part is to type in the instance. I will be using one of our instances as we are a partner. We've got these instances for free. So generate a trial license for this particular int I would like to replicate. So should my email, here it is. Copy paste the license key like that. Oh, this is still loading. Let's wait for it. The first time SnowMirror starts, it loads so-called configuration wizard. So it goes through the SnowMirror configuration process. And the very first step is the license key. So let's the license. And now, basically we have to configure at least two things. On one side, the source, this is the ServiceNow instance, and on the other side, the target database. So start with the source. We'll down data from this vendor instance. I will admin account, which is better for evaluation purposes. But of course, if you want to set up a production environment, then you can create a dedicated user with limited permissions. Even provide an update set, which allows you to create a role with all necessary permissions, or you can manually according to our admin guide. But for evaluation purposes, the admin account is just fine. We have test connection button, which checks all the necessary permissions and stuff. If there is any issue, it displays a sensible error message what to do. And see if you find an HTTP proxy, a corporate proxy, we have a support for that as well. So you can use this checkbox and configure your proxy. Now, the second is the target database. In this case, I don't want to use the fake database, but in this I would like to use the SQL Server on my local host. It was called Mirror. Yes, I created that, and I just need to log in on the test connection again. Seems to be, and that's it. This is the target. There's a couple of more steps. I can set up an SMTP server so I can receive notification emails if anything goes wrong. Let's skip now. Step is to set up a SnowMirror user, meaning credentials to log in into the SnowMirror user interface. We either internal database or integration with Active Directory or LDAP if you prefer. But let's do the local user. I will create many user like that. Password. And that's it. So as you can see, SnowMirror installed and configured in under 10 minutes. And now it is up and running. It runs on computer as a Windows service, and it's downloading data from one instances into a Microsoft SQL Server on my laptop again. So and down data. This is a dashboard. The most important screen is synchronizations. We call the application job a synchronization. So typically it is a table selected for replication. So as you see, SnowMirror is not replicating the whole database. It replicates just selected tables. So I will press this new sync button. And SnowMirror allows me to create a synchronization in 3 simple steps. The step is to select a table. So see, SnowMirror reads the ServiceNow metadata, the ServiceNow system dictionary, and it contains all the tables from ServiceNow platform, including the system tables such as this audit, including the custom tables, this year score, including the scoped application. So every single available here. Locate the CMDB-CI, the table of the configuration database. In that step, there are a couple of options. We'll get to the options later, but the most important task here is to select the fields, the columns. Of course, like select all of them with no case. But if you don't want to download all the fields, you can just select. Might be a good reason for that. For example, the description, the incident description field is a huge field. It contains a lot of data and it's useless for reporting, so it doesn't make sense to replicate it, for example. I can cut records. This is just a better instance containing only 2,700 records. Last step is a schedule. This is a scheduled replication, so this is not real-time replication. The SnowMirror agent is polling the data from the ServiceNow cloud. Again, there's a couple of options. A very good scenario is to have daily snapshots once a day. Every hour, every 15 minutes, even cron expression from if you prefer. So let's configure it as a office hours every day, 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's it. The session is ready. As you can see here, it's been scheduled for tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the morning, but the result is new, not run yet. And I will just even manually trigger the replication. Now this is important. I saw some question in the chat as a FAQ question. For the first runs, it replicates all the data. This is so-called a full load. It downloads all the data from scratch. So for big instances, it might take even several hours, like overnight. But every subsequent run is incremental. It downloads just the deltas, just new records, just the updated records, and it removes the deletes. Let's have a look at it. I go down into the synchronization. Useful icon here, which opens the ServiceNow instance with that particular table. So much easier. And I will update records here, one of the CIs. Hit the record. Update. Now I go back to SnowMirror and now press synchronize again. The down faster. As you can see, progress bar is blue. Just one updated record got downloaded. So this is the answer even for the super large ServiceNow instances, because deltas are typically not that big. Even the largest instances we have, they update like 30,000 records per hour in their incident table. But downloading 30,000 records is like under a minute in certain cases. So even for big ServiceNow instances, this is performing well. Let's look at the database now. I have a database here. I've got table here. So page for you is SnowMirror is not mapping the data anywhere. It is managing the schema for you. So as you can see, SnowMirror has created a CMDB-CI table in the SQL Server database. It has created those three. I said plus the sysid primary key, plus technical columns that might be useful for additional ETL jobs. So this is it. SnowMirror creates the schema according to data mapping, and it downloads the data into the tool. This SnowMirror in a nutshell. So of course we can replicate more, such as incident, assets, and the data will be downloaded. So let's replicate the incident. As you can see, we've got some other options here. For example, we've got so-called encoded query. This is basically a filter. For example, I have incidents. Just want to download only priority 1 incident. I put a query, insert or a filter, a copy query to SnowMirror like that. And this is a filter. We have strategy, which is a way how to identify the deleted records. By default, we check the system journal for audit records if they are present there. Got some other strategies for non-audited tables. There is an option to flatten a hierarchy, meaning that like you include the task fields into the incident table as well. So basically flattening the table hierarchy. We've got an option so-called schema update. If there is a new field on the ServiceNow side, SnowMirror is able to see the change and add this field into the mirror database automatically without you manually adding the field. We even support display values for references, for example. So the several useful options, and I can set up incidents, create incidents to replicate every 15 minutes. So in the near real time, I'll be getting incident updates. This is fully configurable. The schedules are fully configurable on the table level. You don't have to replicate all the data just in a day. You can configure it as you need. So we have some other useful features as well. For example, when creating synchronizations, we have several synchronization types. Not only tables are supported, but as well, I mean the ServiceNow side database view can be replicated. Again, might be useful for reporting. We replicating attachments. In this case, the data or the attachments are not being stored in a database, but on a file system. So I can show you like that. Let's replicate KB knowledge. So this all attachments to knowledge articles in this instance. But again, distance, there will just 1 or 2, I don't know. So this is a replication feature. Let's download data. So in this case, the target is not the database, it's actually a folder configurable by default. It is here, data, and data structure is, and then all the display values of the records. So every record is having a folder And this is like a real attachment with a real file, as you can see. So just talking about the business continuity and disaster recovery use case, because SnowMirror allows you to replicate and to keep copy of your documents stored in ServiceNow as attachments. All right. So if I go into settings, basically all we have configured during the configuration wizard. So this is the ServiceNow connection, including the test connection button. We change it. There is the database setting on the other side as the target. And there are some additional options, including the notification management, which we skipped. So we have to connect TP server, which I won't do right now. But what you want typically is to have a tool which runs reliably, and you don't have to observe it that much. So the idea is that you can set up an email notification if there is any failure or if there is any warning. You can an email about that. Another options we've got, if there is any new field or a modified field on the ServiceNow side, again, you might get an email about that. If you are not getting emails, everything runs as expected and everything. SnowMirror supports you as data administrators or engineers, and each and every one contains and each session has a history. So if there is any failure, you can down to the log, you can see all details, what was happening, why it actually failed. If you are not sure, you can download the file, you can send it to our support, and we will help you out. So as you can see, there are really focusing on opera tool. And I think before I get to the questions, there is a feature so-called consistency check. SnowMirror checks the numbers of records on both sides in ServiceNow and in the mirror database. And if there's any mismatch, which happens from time to time because of some upgrades, creating your instances or events, SnowMirror sends you a warning. It issues a warning. You are getting an email, and you can fix it running some of the features again what we have here, such differential saying to download just the missing records. You can grab the data since a selected timestamp, and so on and so forth. So really, the tool with features focusing on maintenance. So let's look at the questions for now. Andrew King, I work in a large organization. From Penny perspective, how large would I expect the configuration database to be, and how large should I plan for the mirror to be? We've got an edit on our website. So there are hardware requirements. So basically, you just need a small mesh to install SnowMirror on, and typically the data size is tens of gigabytes, like 20, 40, but it really depends on the number of records you have, the number of tables you configure, and many other aspects. But from No, it's like several tens of gigabytes. For so large instances, it might be hundreds of gigabytes. What kind of, and Andrew is again asking, what kind of database is the default configuration database? The database is called A2 here. It is embedded file database. It is a database file database. The database file is stored here. It is like data H2. This is a very simple database. That's why we recommend having a proper database for your production use. Andrew asking again, do I need a separate license for my development ServiceNow instance? Yes, that's correct. You need a separate license for your development and test environment. The licenses are free of charge. I can get back to the licensing topic later. For Sync, I have about 4 million CIs. Yeah, I can tell you that if you have like 4 million CIs, this is, let's say, a mid or like a bit big ServiceNow. It's nothing exceptional. Just expect that to replicate 4 million CIs for the first time, as I said, will take something like, depends on your instance, but something like 4 to 10 hours, something like that. The performance of the whole replication architecture typically depends on your ServiceNow instance. The agent is able to replicate, I would say, tens of millions of records per hour, but bottleneck is typically the ServiceNow instance. And performance of your ServiceNow instance depends again on many factors, on the data center they have, on the size of your instance, on the level of customization, etc. Plan is asking, can you put a condition on in to filter the data downloaded? Yeah, I showed that. To filter the data, you use this encoded query. Filter. From Roshin, the name of column that gets created in mirror database, or should it be the same as the ServiceNow column name? By default, the table, which is called here, so I can rename the incident if I want to. By default, we stick to the ServiceNow names, but all tables and column names are configurable. So the column name or the table name here in the edit settings, and the column name and types here in edit mappings. So, for example, here I can modify the table, for example. I modify the column name. I can make the data type as well if needed. And how can we assess the impact of SnowMirror queries on our instance? Does the SnowMirror application in ServiceNow display any information other than sync statuses? You can evaluate the SnowMirror impact on your instance using the standard ServiceNow tools, standard system diagnostics and slow queries and long-running transactions. I can tell you that from our experience, the impact on the ServiceNow instance is low for several reasons. First of all, SnowMirror uses so-called integration semaphores. So technically speaking, this is other part of the cloud than the end users are using. SnowMirror or ServiceNow is like smart enough to build their infrastructure to actually like route these read-only API requests to their read-replica databases and so on. So our experience is that the impact is low. And you are talking about the SnowMirror monitor, which is the optional native ServiceNow application. This tool is not monitoring the performance. No. Dmitry, what's the approximate performance of sys audit replication? Our instance has around 5 million records there. Dmitry, very good question. And I'll be honest with you, this audit table is one of the worst tables in the instance. I'd say the other table is the task table. The sys audit table is not designed to be queried. So this is one of the slowest tables you have. But of course, we have so many requirements to actually replicate this table, so we know how to approach it. First of all, you have to introduce some ServiceNow side indexes to make the table much faster. And the practice is not to replicate the whole sys audit table, but to replicate the data you need. For example, your use case, you might need just the status changes of the incidents. So you filter the audit table with table name equals incident and field name equals state. So that long number of records that are needed. But first, I repeat once again, the sys audit table is one of the slowest. I would recommend to give it a try in your own environment to see the actual performance, and of course, it might help you to optimize it. Perhaps the light I have here is for the licensing, how we approach the licensing. Basically, our main product is SnowMirror Enterprise Edition. It supports all databases. It contains all the features. There is no data limitation, and the licensing model is based on per installation model. So, if just one SnowMirror installation, you need just one license. If you have two SnowMirrors, like replicating into two locations or replicating two production environments, then you need two SnowMirror licenses. The of test and development environment are free of charge, as I explained earlier. The license includes all the new patches, new versions, because we have to keep pace with ServiceNow development. We release quite often, and the license includes our support as well. For smaller ServiceNow customers or the customers that are just starting with ServiceNow, we offer the Lite edition. It's up only MySQL database. It contains all the cool features, and there is a data limitation of 500,000 records per table. So if a table which is bigger than 500,000, then you are not able to replicate it with the Lite edition. Typically, we charge for the first year a price, in this case $10,000 for the Lite edition, and then $5,000 for every subsequent year. You can contact us for the enterprise pricing, but it is, I would say, about twice as much as the Lite edition. There is optional packages we offer to the Enterprise Edition. If you want to have a high available deployment, a cluster deployment, there is an upgrade. If you would like to upgrade for the backup features as well, there is an optional upgrade as well. So that's how the licensing works. Question from Roshin. There's to sync mirror table with Snow table. Will that have any performance impact? Is it good to have it check for all tables. Roshin, I am not catching the question. Yes.
Hello, Clement.
In
Can you hear
all,
me?
we don't have any performance issues so far with our installations, so I wouldn't expect it to have any significant impact anyway. Questions, guys? So if you any additional questions, I would like to encourage you to download a free trial from our website the same way I was just showcasing here in the demo, and give it a try in your own environment. We actively support our evaluating users, so please do not hesitate to build a proof of concept, and then simply, if you like SnowMirror, then after the evaluation period, you can turn your proof of concept environment into a production environment. Don't hesitate to contact me directly if you have any private questions after the webinar. And other, thanks so much for joining this demo, and see you in Las Vegas. SnowMirror, the traditional sponsor, so you will definitely find us there. Thank you.